So welcome back. So today we're going to make some Christmas Kringles. We're going to make them two different ways. One with a rough puff pastry, which is the easier way, and then one with the actual lamination and folding and all of that good stuff. And we're going to do two different types of filling, one for each. It's going to be absolutely delicious. But before we get started, here's a little joke for you. What's the leading cause of dry skin? Towels. Ha 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 ha. Terrible, terrible, terrible. So without further ado, let's get cooking. For the traditional pastry, we're going to take our half cup of lukewarm milk that's at roughly 110 degrees Fahrenheit. Add 1 tablespoon of sugar and 2 1/4 teaspoons of yeast and mix that together. Then we're going to set that to the side and let that yeast dissolve for about 10 minutes.
I'm trying to make an oatmeal.
Trying to make an oatmeal?
Yeah.
While that's doing that, we're going to take a cup of butter and spread it out on a piece of parchment paper. Then, like a piece of iron in a forge, I'm just going to move this butter back and forth while the hammer of wrath smashes it into oblivion. If your butter isn't a rectangle shape, cut off the ends and throw that into the middle.
That looks like a car.
Looks like a car?
Yeah.
And then smash those into the rectangle.
Ow.
Careful. Then we're going to wrap this up and throw it into the fridge and get this chilled for about an hour. It's time to make the rest of the dough. We're going to start with 2 cups of flour, add 2 tablespoons of sugar and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Then we're going to raise this up and mix it up. Once we have that mixed up, we're going to add a 1/2 tablespoon of melted butter, 2 eggs, our yeast mixture, now that it's nice and frothy. Then we're going to mix that up. Make sure you scrape the sides in to ensure that everything is incorporated.
I can whip it up, so I love big.
Once this guy comes together, we're going to shape him into a ball and wrap him up in saran wrap and throw him into the fridge for at least an hour. Now that our dough and butter has chilled, we're going to take this out and start the lamination process. To start, we're going to roll the dough out into a rectangle-like shape. Then we're going to place our butter in the middle with the long sides going perpendicular to each other. Then we're going to fold the bottom and the top over the butter. Make sure to dust the flour off the dough where they're going to fold together. That way the dough actually sticks together and the flour doesn't prevent it from sticking. Next, we're going to rotate this 90 degrees, then roll that out into a rectangle shape as well. We want to roll this out so that when we fold the 2 ends, we are folding the ends that have the butter exposed. That way we really trap that butter in between the dough to create those layers. And put it back into the fridge and chill for another hour. After an hour, we are going to rinse and repeat the process and rolling and folding again once more.
What the heck?
What the heck? While the dough is chilling, we're going to make the pecan filling. We're going to start with 2 tablespoons of butter, add 1 cup of brown sugar, 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg, 2 teaspoons of vanilla, 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, and add 2 cups of pecans that have been roasted. You want these guys to be roasted since it enhances and adds a wonderful flavor. To toast, all you need to do is throw them in a pan and bake them at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for about 5 minutes. Also, I should have chopped these up before adding them in. You will see why later. So, learn from my mistake. Then, we're going to mix that on up.
It feels like strawberries.
Feels like strawberries?
Yeah.
Now that our dough is chilled, one last time, we're going to roll this out. One last time in a rectangle shape. In this case, I'm going for a long rectangle shape. However, I know the traditional shape of a Kringle is a circle.
Are you done? I want to paint it. I want to eat some. It's probably dead.
Probably good.
Yeah.
They are good. Once we have that rolled out, we're going to add our pecan filling to the center of the dough. You don't want this too close to the edges, otherwise it's going to be hard to wrap. Next, we're going to cut the slits. It's in a diagonal coming off the center. Make sure not to cut too close to the center, otherwise your filling will spill out. Then we're going to bring the ends in and then start pulling over the cut slices to the center. Make sure that you go with every other side being on the bottom. And make sure you apply egg wash to every little strip. That way it helps it stick together and it will give it a beautiful shine when it comes out.
Oh. Do it all. Slimy. There. Did it!
Once you have that all wrapped up, we're going to throw this in the oven at 375 degrees for 30 to 35 minutes or until it's a nice and golden brown color. For the rough puff, we're going to grate a cup of frozen butter. You want to make sure this is frozen so that it is easier to grate and doesn't melt in your hands. One thing good about this is that you'll get a little bit of an arm workout out of it. Then we're going to take our grated butter and dump that into a bowl. Make sure not to push this down and press this together, otherwise you're going to have to grate it all over again. Then we're going to add with force 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 tablespoon of sugar, and 2 cups of flour. Then we're going to toss this butter and the flour, kind of like you're tossing the salad. You want to try to get all those little pieces of butter coated in the flour. Once you have that, we're going to add 8 to 10 tablespoons of water. Basically, we want enough moisture in this dough so that it comes together and it is slightly sticky. Then we're going to throw this guy into the fridge to chill out for an hour. Does anyone else like raw dough, or is it just Ellie? For the rough puff, we're going to basically do the same thing as the traditional pastry. We're going to just roll it out and then fold it into 3 equal parts, and we're going to do this 2 times. Remember again to dust off the flour when folding. Then we're going to throw this back into the fridge for an hour before we do this again. Once that is chilled, we're going to take this out and then repeat the folding process one more time before throwing it back into the fridge to chill for another hour. So all in all, you want to fold this 4 times, 2 each time you take it out, and each fold should be the opposite way that you folded before. While that is chilling, we are going to make the marzipan for the rough puff pastry. We're going to start by adding a 1.5 cups of almond flour or blanched almonds that have been blended into a fine powder, a 1.5 cups of powdered sugar, 1/2 teaspoon of almond extract, 2 tablespoons of water, and 1 egg white. Then we're going to mix that on up. Once that all comes together into a paste, we're going to put this into some Saran wrap, shape this into a rectangle shape.
That was like a hungry caterpillar.
Or a hungry caterpillar shape. Then we're going to throw this into the freezer so it becomes stiff. The wrapping process is going to be the same as traditional pastry as well. We're just going to roll this dough out, spread out our marzipan, cut the slits, fold the slits, and ensuring to paint the egg wash on the slits, and then throw this into the oven at 375 degrees Fahrenheit for 30 to 35 minutes or until golden brown. As shown in the thumbnail, you can pipe frosting on the top of this if you want. The recipe for that is in the description below. However, it doesn't really need it, but it is a nice to have. And sprinkle some almonds on now if you're not going to add the icing later. If you are going to add the icing, however, you can add them after you pipe on the icing. As you can see, the pecan pastry fell apart, but by chopping the nuts up, this would have helped it, but also probably adding fewer nuts would have helped too, but I mean, that's really hard to do.
So, welcome back.
So there we have it. So there we have our Kringles. So without further ado, let's get taste testing.
So, the 7 is really good.
I really like it. The pastry itself is very nice, light. You can definitely see all the layers. Not overpowering with the butter and the cinnamon and flavors, all just right.
I would agree. The flavors are absolutely delicious. As Paul Hollywood would say, the flavors are there. However, the presentation is not quite there. But overall, absolutely delicious. The flavors are spot on. So, ready to try this one?
This is really good. It's nice and light and like has that gooey center that you want, but that crunch on the outside.
I would agree. That marzipan in the middle just melts in your mouth. Absolutely delicious. Pairs nicely with the almonds, obviously, because marzipan is pretty much almonds anyway. But yeah, overall, it's got nice lamination. It's really good. And obviously, it looks way better than that one. So, with that being said, if you like this video, hit that like button down below. If you want to see more like it, hit the subscribe button and notification bell so you can be notified every time we make a new video. Until next time, we'll see you later.
Bye-bye.